Hello everyone, Henry here with a tutorial on how to FDM print my ships. My reason for making this video is that my ships have been getting a bit of renewed attention online since I was sharing the very nice results I've been getting with my new Bambu A1 FDM printer. So I thought I'd be a bit more helpful and show folks how I go about getting pretty good results. I'd be lying if I said that FDM's at a point where it's, one for one with resin printing. But it's getting pretty close. The technology has come along. Where in the past I had FDM specific sculpts like this, I made these deliberately quite low in some details. You'll see this railing here at the front of the quarterdeck is just a solid block. Again on the bell, solid fills here. And the bow itself is also solid. We're now at a point where we can actually print off the resin sculpts. Anyway, the first part of the video is going to be about setting the model up before we put it in the slicer and get printing. If you want to skip to any point, I'm going to have timestamps along the video so you can skip to the part that interests you. But, I'm going to make this as comprehensive as I can, showing everything I do. Oh, one more difference. You'll notice that this helm is detailed with spokes, whereas this one is just, flat and round. And my Bambu A1 can actually do the spokes with a 0.2 nozzle, so yeah, I'll show you how it's all done. Anyway, just closing this off. On all my new ships, when you buy them, you'll get a folder just like this. This is the Spanish frigate Diana. It came with the Trafalgar Kickstarter. It's also available for separate purchase. But you get an included Blender exporter. Blender is a freely available piece of 3D editing software. It's what I use to make my models in the first place. And that's the file that I have open here. And we've got this open just for one simple purpose, which is by default, my resin sculpts have this hollow in the bottom. We're just going to get rid of that because it just makes life slightly easier in 3D printing. And that's the only change we're making here. If we check the overview on the right, we've got different toggles we can switch on and off for the ship. This is already configured for the resin sculpt. So yeah, the only change we need to make was solidify the bottom. Going to click apart the ship, press A for all to select everything, and click File, Export, STL. Got a folder ready here. Make sure you click Selection Only. This is the most common problem I get with people exporting. They don't tick this box and then they ask why things have gone wrong. And we're going to call this Diana Detailed FDM. And that's exported. Our next step, if I tab to the folder, it's here, will be just to open this up in a program called 3D Builder. This program, I'll put a download link in the description, but it's also available on the Microsoft Store. Should be. Sometimes it doesn't seem to appear. But anyway, if we open that up, you might have to right click and click Open with 3D Builder if it's your first time. Get the program up. Make sure we select millimeter up the top. Click the tick, and then you'll get this little error down here saying the object needs to be repaired. Just let it repair, and I'll be back with you in a bit when this finishes. It'll take a couple of minutes. Okay, the model is finished repairing, so all I need to do now is just click the X and click Save Scene, and that will update. Now our next step might seem a bit counterintuitive, because although we're printing this FDM, I'm going to open up a resin slicer, LycheeSlicer, I always pronounce it wrong, and we're going to add some resin-style supports to this model. Now, you can probably do this in Shutterbox as well. I'm not a fan of Shutterbox. I've beaten that horse to death. I shan't go on about it, but my catchphrase is that Shutterbox is the Internet Explorer of 3D printing. It's just the default program everybody uses, but it's not very good. Anyway, I've got a Lychee subscription, so I don't think there'll be anything I'm doing here that you can't do on the free version, so you should be okay. But in the event I do something that you can't see how to do, that's why. Right, forgot to walk you through it. So click the model, click Prepare up top. We're going to bring in some supports. That's all we're doing is just adding some resin-style supports to some of the fragile details. We're going to use 0.3 heads and 0.25 heads for some of them, depending on what we're doing. First thing to do, obviously, make sure you've got support selected under the Prepare tab. And let's click Tip Diameter and type in 0.25. And under the Manual tab down here, just going to turn on the mirror mode. So we're working from both sides. And you want to go for specific things that on every ship you're going to want to add some supports to. So first we got the front of the bowsprit, just 2 supports there. Do not overdo it because these will be difficult. They can blend together if you do too many. We're just going to do like a couple. So here in the middle of the lower part of the cat's head, and then just under the cat's head here. Any area that's highlighted yellow is an overhang. Some ships you'll want to do the bow trim as well. Maybe here. And if you're doing a 0.25mm head, make sure what you're adding in is a full support. So like that is a full support, whereas this is a mini support. Mini supports we need to be 0.3, otherwise they'll have trouble printing. So just see what the slicer's trying to do. Oh, that's my cat feeder going off. I hope you can't hear that. Next we're doing the running boards here. You don't want to be too dense with the supports. Keep them relatively dispersed apart. I'm going to switch, make sure no support selected, click off. Select the light support to go back to 0.3, just for the mini supports here. That's not going to fit actually. Alright, back to 0.25 it is. Yeah, like that, that'll do. Okay. Make sure they're not clipping with the model. Like, yeah, that's too close to the cannon. So I press Control Z to undo, and I'm replacing this. Oh, like that. Yeah, that'll do. Oh, I have made a mistake. These supports shouldn't have bases. I forgot that. So I'm just selecting my supports. I'm clicking the base tab, pressing 0 under diameter. There we go. Because this is all going to be in the brim of the model anyway in the FDM slicer. So that's fine. Just progressing along the model now. Avoiding mini supports where we can. We'll use them if we haven't got a choice. We'll probably be putting them under the cannons just to be comprehensive. We're just running full supports. Nope. Check your cannons. Yeah, running full supports along the running boards. Nothing's being touched. And then the next spot that's vulnerable and needs help is the stern galleries. You want the bottom face here, where it's almost like horizontally flat here. So this place does need supports. You could use tree supports for this, but while I'm here, I might as well do it this way. And that looks good. We haven't got any overhanging details here. The spar decks might need supports, but we can do that with tree supports, and I'll show you how to do that. This looks ready to go. Oh no, the cannons. So switching back to a light support, just going to the cannons. If I mouse over visibility here, I can change it to just show tips and bases. That will make it easier to see. Just tips for now then, so I can see. Let's just do the cannons just to be extra sure. The reason I'm doing the cannons, you don't have to, but the reason why it's... why's that got a base? Because it's a mini support, okay. The reason I'm doing the cannons is just because that way we don't get like funky stuff happening at the end of the muzzle. There we go. We'll have to do that on both sides because unfortunately symmetry mode doesn't actually track changes to the position you do. What I was doing there was I was tracking the base. Not doing this as elegantly as would be ideal in a tutorial, but hey. Again, just to stress you, it's really not mandatory to do this, but you know, I'm trying to show you the practices for how to do the best possible job of it, because you can get like sort of pancakes happening on the end of the cannons otherwise. Missed one. Yeah, with mini supports you have to drag the bases on both sides. It can get a bit funky. I do prefer full supports where I can get them, but with a thin part like a gun, I would feel less confident breaking off a full support than I would a mini support. Again, make sure the mini supports have a 0.3 tip though, because they're a bit wispy when they get FDM printed. I'll go back on the other side to finish these off. Okay, now just the other side. I really wish that symmetry mode would mirror changes you make to supports, but alas, no. And the reason we're having to add these, it's not really strictly necessary on a resin print, but FDM, well, the difference is if you're printing something in resin, if a surface is horizontal, so long as it's not too long, that will print just fine. But obviously in FDM, because you're physically ejecting material out of a nozzle that's traveling, you get sag. You're just basically just shooting PLA into empty space, aren't you? So although these cannons have this lip on the bottom, which is designed to make them supportless for resin prints, that principle won't hold true for FDM. This all looks good. Right, now we're going to export this as an STL, export to 3D file. Let's go to my FDM print example folder. We're just going to call this Data Detail FDM with support. And this is ready for us to finally go into our actual FDM slicer, Bambu Studio, which if you've got a Bambu printer, you'll obviously have or will download. From here on out, I don't know how useful this will be to other people on different FDM printers. I recommend the Bambu simply because I'm not an FDM expert and I got it to work. It's relatively idiot-proof. It just works out the box. It's not a tinkerer's machine where you need to be fiddling around. I'm sure like on an Ender 3, you can do everything I'm doing here if you've got some tinkering know-how and you put the work in to get that printer, working as you want it. But, I want to print stuff. I'm a designer. It's not really my wheelhouse. Okay, so I've opened this up in Bambu. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Arrange up here. Auto-rotate for arrangement. It's fine. The slicer likes the appearance it's in. Over here, I've got my filament selected and my profile. These are both purchased from Fat Dragon Games, I think it's called. Fat Dragon Games or Fat Dragon Gaming. I'll have a link in the description. I paid like $1, and this is a guy who's just done all the testing and tweaking to make a decent printing profile. So I took his word for it. It's good, and it's worked for me so far. Where I have altered it, as you can see here, I've got my subversions of it. I've added trees and ironing. So I'll just show you my settings. You can pause and look at them. I won't talk you through it. These are my support settings. So I added tree supports to this. I'm going to use manual tree supports for this, though probably later. I'll slice this first and see where it wants to add tree supports to see if it means I've missed something, but we'll be doing manual tree supports. Then under quality, we've got ironing here. Ironing is when the print head is run back across the top surfaces of the model without extruding any material, with the heat from the print head partially melting the top layer. So it's meant to smooth out the top details. The result is that it means the creases, the lines between each deck plank can get like filled in a little, but if you just run a sharp knife down them, you can clean them out, and it's worth it because it means that your large flat surfaces like the running boards on the side or the tops of the gunwales don't have the obvious layer lines in them. Right, anything else I should walk you through? Okay, important setting. I've walked you through ironing. It's this one, variable layer height. Click this, slide these all the way to the left, and click adaptive and smooth. What this does is that I'm going to show my own ignorance here. Essentially, on curved areas, I believe, it reduces the layer height sort of dynamically. We've basically just doubled the print time of the ship, but the ship should come out better. I recommend printing a version both with this setting and without. You can click reset to get rid of it, and see how you like the gaining quality. It should mean here that you have less stepping. You'll see it on the preview actually, but the steps between each layer should be less pronounced. Okay, I'm going to click preview now just to see where the slicer tries to put the automatic supports to see what it thinks of the job I've done supporting in the resin stuff. But oh, it just wants to put them everywhere. I'm going to ignore that except for the spar deck. Okay, go back to prepare, support, tree, manual. And then I'm just going to use tree supports to add supports to the spar decks. And we're going to assume that my resin supports are just fine for the rest of it. So where's the sectional view? That's what I want next. I can't remember what the image looks like. Is it this? No. Oh god, no, don't cut it. Don't cut, don't cut, don't cut. Or support painting. And then, is it here? I only found this the other day. Ah, it's here, sorry, section view. There we go. We're going to use the section view so that we can actually see inside the model. And using the circle paint tool, I think we're just going to put supports with this. Sorry, that's not the brush size. It's the end of a workday and I appear to be getting sloppy. With this brush size, we're just going to whack support areas between the guns. You don't want to support the entire area or else you'll have a big mass of supports that it's impossible to get rid of. But this way we stop the weather decks, the spar deck from sagging in from above. Okay, that's that side. If I hit reset direction, that's strange. Is it based on where my camera is? When I did this, yeah. Oh, okay, there we go. All right. I'm still learning as I go. To be honest, I've only had my machine about 6 weeks now, I think. But this feature I just found while poking about. Okay. That should be enough. And now when I click preview, yeah, there we go. I suppose the only thing that remains to be said before this could be printed, just make sure that looks like it's too quick. Yes, it is. It's a very quick print time. I thought it'd be like 4 or 5 hours. The last thing to be mentioned, I guess, is brims. You'll find that on the other tab here. Whether you use them or not, I haven't really entirely developed an opinion on. This is going to be printed with a textured plate. I have both the smooth plate and the textured plate. I recommend the smooth plate for sails and masts. I'll have to do a separate tutorial on how to print those because you cut them in half, and since you want to glue them together, you want to have the bottom of the print be smooth. This one I'm going to do on the textured plate. The textured plate, in theory, has better adhesion. So I think you are fine saying no brim. Will there still be a brim on the bottom of the supports? I think there will be a slight one. Oh no, that'll just print straight on. Okay, you know what? No, let's be conservative. Let's say an auto brim of 2mm. And then that's just ready to print. Or at least it would have been if I hadn't just crashed the program. Thank God for autosaves. I found that it can crash when I've got high poly prints with adaptive layering turned on. But no, that all looks fine. So that's going to take 3.5 hours to print. Apparently it'll cost me 8p, so cheaper than buying in plastic. And off the top of my mind, there's nothing else to say. I would go on print plate now. My printer's currently off, but I will print this and, well, yeah, I guess I'll share it in the video. Put it at the end. So, I'll wait to show you the finished print. But thank you for watching this far. Again, just to run you through one more time, we've got these resin style supports on the side to stop sagging underneath the running boards. And we've got the tree supports on the spar deck, slight brim to help with adhesion and to make sure the supports have a base to cling onto. And earlier on I showed you how to close up the bottom. So that should be everything you need. I have just noticed that we've got an extra support here we don't need, so I will fix that before printing. But otherwise, catch you shortly.
Hey again, folks. Sorry, not the best lighting, but hopefully you can see this okay. So here we have the frigate printed on the textured build plate. And this has had plenty of time to cool, so it should just pop off. Okay, maybe give it a bend first. Yeah, there we go, that just pops off. And you can see, just making sure this is focused. Oh, you can see everything came out reasonably well. So I guess the last thing to show you is just support removal. Oh, although one thing, sorry, the spar decks, I did not put the supports in, they printed fine. I realized before printing the model that the supports I'd painted had gone to the outside of it, so I thought just save myself the hassle and chance that it would work, and it did, because these are quite small spar decks. There is a bit of flash on here, not sure what's caused that. It can just be snipped away, like on the top here. I'm just running the blade over the top to get it off. I might need some putty to fix up. Sometimes things happen, it could be moist filament, I don't know. I have about 60% humidity in my flat, so moist filament is a problem. I do have a filament dryer, but sometimes if that's not been running, I'm just going to have issues. So, just going to have a go at the cat's head now. This is where I have to be careful. Place the clipper underneath the cat's head and gently snip. Okay. Pull the support away from the bottom. The supports don't have bases, by the way, remember, they're just resting on the brim that Bambu Slicer made. For the bow supports, I'm not going to really snip, I'm just going to grip the support and sort of pull it away. Yep. Same for the front here. Pull it off. Oh, okay, now let's give it a snip actually. Snip. Just a case of looking at where each support is and just being a bit gentle with it. Cat's head on the other side. Off. And then for the running boards, you've obviously got to be careful that you don't get a cannon. So I'm just going to place the blade as high up as I can, as close to the support as I can, and gently close. Let's see if I can show you what it looks like if we get the supports off. So I've removed the tips from the model, then the bottom just peels off. And again with the focusing, sorry. And there you can see that's all come away quite nicely. The brim means that you will have to run a file along the bottom. You can print without a brim. I have tried before and actually had the supports print just without anything underneath them, but you know, all these sorts of things have taken a chance at the end of the day. So it's about your tolerance for risk. Maybe on a frigate it's fine to try, but I think on a first rate I'd be very cautious, because printing a first rate can be like 12 hours when it's a big one with all the adaptive layering on and everything. So you have a first rate two-hand. I could show in a sec. The gallery supports now. I'm going to try to snap them off. Oh, yep. Just pushing them with my fingernails working. Might have to run a blade along the bottom where there's a stub or two. You can use a sharp X-Acto knife for that. That rudder's going to need saving. Running boards. Tip snip. Tip snip. Tip snip. Tip snip. Just going to do that along the whole length of the model while I'm at it. This one. There we go. Now I just got to remove the brim. I would probably do this with a knife. But since I'm here and I already have the shot set up, let's just try it with the cutters. When I say a knife, I'm sure you know what I mean. One of those modeling knives with the scalpel sort of blades. X-Acto knives or whatever they're called. I have one at my desk. There's still a bow support. Okay. What's there? Alright. Still a little rough and ready on the bottom. But now you would just get well, you'd either have used a fine scalpel blade to do this, or not scalpel, you know what I mean, a sharp X-Acto blade, or get a file and start having it. It can be a bit difficult to file, but like sideways motions will do it. Oh, now I look closer at the underside of the gallery. Could use this. Okay, and that rudder will need some clipping down. I like a clean rudder, and actually one of the few advantages of FDM over resin that I found is the rudders come out better because they just come out flat. On resin, the rudder can sort of raise up a bit at the end. Not that it's really noticeable if you use a textured water base like I do, but not sure how well you can see. The helm has come out. This bit's a bit scuffed. That could just be damp filament. We've got a bit of flash off the railing there. That's good and strong. The bell is a little deformed. I think that could be because of the direction this was printing in. The orientation you have versus where the head is can affect things. Don't know what would happen if you did it diagonally, but those mess everything up, who knows. The pin recs have come out. We've got our cat's heads and the bow trim. It's okay, it's passable. It's not my best, but hopefully everything that I had in the tutorial is still useful. I'll show you the first rate. I gave up removing the supports on this because it was proving quite the chore, but yeah, this came out nicely, except here in the railings I added mini supports in the LycheeSlicer. I did them a bit too densely and they came through very solid. Did it pre-mounted on a base. This is one of my bases with a nameplate. So the idea being you can stick the nameplate on the bottom. This is Lorient. I don't speak French, I don't know. Lorient. Of the Battle of Abu Qir Bay. Oh, and you can see some remaining supports I haven't removed under the spar deck. So if you were wondering what the tree supports were looking like, you can see them just there. But yeah, hopefully that's everything you need to know. Final thoughts. Print in resin if you can. If you can't, it's not the end of the world. You get perfectly good gaming pieces out of FDM. And with Bambu printers, it's a piece of piss. Cheerio!